Hi, my name's Corey Doran.
Awesome Clinic by Corey Doran.
Are you breaking things down early enough to exercise certain skill sets? Remember to get out of those habitual stopping point to exercise certain skill sets early enough to make sure that you have the tools to do it.
All those concepts, as you could see in Corey's clinic, they're perfectly transferable to any time that you're going to learn any etude for any situation, right?
I'm here to talk about how to break down a solo and ensemble snare drum etude. I want to thank my sponsors, Innovative Percussion, Sabian Cymbals, Mapex Drums, and Majestic Percussion.
You are going to learn some really neat stuff, and you will definitely be inspired. World-class showmanship while he's playing. Guys, the level of showmanship on this gentleman and his groove and his pocket. Hello guys, it is quite an exciting show today, quite an excited stream today, exciting stream today. For a lot of Texas percussion educators, particularly high school, this is a very exciting time because of the release of the Texas All-State music, the etudes that will be used in the Texas All-State editions. And usually we go to TBA and then they're released there, right, with a live clinic by the professor that is chosen to be a part of that group, right, to select the etudes. And this year it's not going to happen. But the clinician, the professor in charge this year for the percussion etudes, wanted to make sure that she could be accessible to you and be able to discuss with you. She goes, I really miss the fact that I won't be able to talk to them. And, after the clinic, they'll come and visit and, we'll talk shop quite a bit about the etudes. And she wanted to make sure that all of us Texas educators had all our questions answered and that we would, be satisfied fully and thoroughly as far as that is concerned. And that's why she said, we need to do this. So here we are. And guys, ladies, gentlemen, I am so stoked to have this amazing educator, lady. And boy, is she a worker. I guess a workhorse. She's always active in many things, not just in the percussion field, and a very successful one at that. So proud to call her my friend. Without further ado, Miss Sherry Rubins.
Hey everybody. Hey Gil.
How are you doing, Sherry?
I'm good. That's quite an intro. I hope I can live up to all that. So thank you.
No. Honestly, honestly, and I'm sure the peeps that are watching us agree that I didn't deliver it quite well. Yeah.
It's awesome. Thank you. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. As you said, it's still a little bit of a different time, right? So we're not able to do, or we're not going to do the live TBA clinic. And so this is what a great platform that we can sit down and talk about this stuff and go through the etudes. So and just I want to discuss the process a little bit, and and then, like you said, answer questions. So
Yes.
here we are. I hope
Awesome,
people will join in
awesome.
and feel free to ask, what's going on.
Yes, they're starting to join, and one thing that you're gonna notice that I've seen in our channel, Sherry, the replays get like you're gonna see the replays after the stream.
Awesome.
They just start going up. I guess people
Great.
start to see it at their leisure, I guess.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So wow. So I'm excited. Sherry, we're gonna be discussing the 2 and 4 mallet today.
Right. Exactly. So if we can we just talk about the process a little bit? So, because I feel like sometimes people are maybe guessing as to how this all works. Like, how do we choose the music, and when does it start, and all that sort of thing? I mean, I'll try not to go on too long about it, because I know you want to get right into it. But the professors and my colleagues, wonderful colleagues in the past that have chosen the music, we get asked by the vice president of the band division, usually, or maybe the president. And I think, I can't speak for the other professors, but I know for myself, it's a big decision for us, to say yes to this, because we know it takes a lot of time. And we also know that, it's a lot to deliver something that's going to try to please most of the people in the state. And so it's a big deal, and we really, I know that we all take it to heart, and we really want to just pick something that's going to be the best for all of the students possible that we can. So they ask us, and that's like in March, and then sometime in April, we have to choose the books. And we actually have, 3 or 4 books for each category that we get to choose from. And that has changed a little bit over the years, but we could add some new books to that, and I'm making some suggestions there, but because I know some of you feel like it's the same stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot choose an etude that was used in the last 3 years. They have a beautiful spreadsheet for us. It shows everything that's been used, what specific etude, how many times it's been used, maybe even over the last 10 years. So it's nice that we have that spreadsheet that we can really choose wisely. I think it's really helpful. Well, then after we choose the books, then we have to choose the etudes. But here's the kicker. We have to choose 2 etudes for every category. Yeah, so for us, that means we have to choose 8 etudes, like 2 for 4 mallet, 2 for 2. And we have to write all the notes up. So we have to get all of it ready. And we have to send that in that was May, sometime in May. Felt like it was in the middle of finals week here. And then I know, it was crazy. And then they choose which one of those we actually get to use. So it's quite a process. Yeah.
So even you are left in the dark to a good degree.
Yeah, just wondering which of the 2, is it going to be in the end. But so you have to choose wisely. I mean, I made sure that, that each one that I picked, I could live with, so to speak.
And so you had to do videos for 8 etudes?
No, just the notes, not the videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, no, that would have been really ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, then when we actually picked them, then we had a deadline to get videos in. And,
okay.
I'll tell you, at first I thought, oh, great, videos. That's cool. Because I can do them a couple times. I can try to, get it right. And then as I started recording, as we all know and have learned during this pandemic, recording stinks, right? In the end, I was like, oh my gosh, could I please just do this at TBA and see these people, talk to them, play it once. If I make a mistake, I'm human, whatever, but when you're doing recordings, right, it's just over, like take 25, take blah, 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 or then the camera doesn't work, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
All that stuff. But anyway, it's what it is. And I am happy to be able to do this, to serve our community. It's, gosh, it's also an honor to be able to choose it, to get to talk to people and, hopefully the etudes, in my opinion, this whole process is about, improving,
Yes.
encouraging our students to improve. Yes, there's some competition. We all know that. That is obviously a part of it. But if we as educators can encourage our students to understand that it really is about improving their technique, their musicality. Do they know how to do these certain strokes on 4 mallets that they didn't know before? And now they're playing them better. Have they learned how to tune the timpani just a little better this year because of the etude I chose? Whatever that is, it just as educators, don't always be pushing. I hope you get first chair. I hope you get first chair.
Yeah.
Push. Oh my gosh, your sound is so much better this year. I love that you're getting better sounds on the marimba. I love that you're working your 4 mallet technique better. Because man, we can get so competitive, right, in this business.
Yes.
And
Yes,
it's Texas.
it's
There's so many students, and there's only so many places, people. Just so many
yes.
places. Yeah. So.
And Texas is singular. It's in a class of its own as far
Right.
as music is wise. I've heard it from many educators and artists that have come through the Valley Percussion Festival, our event, and they go, man, Texas music is cutthroat like no other state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but and our quality is high. So
Yes.
it's not to say that's not helpful. It's just we do have to keep the rein on it, and not not let it get out of hand. So I grew up in Illinois, and I'm glad, because it wasn't like Texas.
John Mackey, in one of his posts a couple of months ago, he said he came up with he wrote a piece, and he goes, it's hard, but it's not Texas music hard. But so it was like when he said that, it's like people know.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud to be a part of the music education, business here in Texas. That's for sure.
And you've made a huge impact here, a huge dent, and we are so lucky and proud to have you in our team, Sherry.
Thank you.
I think I am going to exit stage left, because they are here to see you, ma'am. They're not here to see me, and they're eager to have all ears and take notes. Sherry,
Okay.
I will be able to see you. If you have anything, say it. I'll hear you. I may pop back up. And any questions, you'll be able to see them. I'll make sure that they go up beneath your image. Okay.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask you. How does that work? So okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not just going to go have lunch or something, right? You're going to be right there.
Oh no, I'm gonna be taking notes myself here.
Okay. Well, we'll start with the 2 mallet etude then. Let's just discuss that a little bit, friends. So hopefully you've all seen that the book you need is this Goldenberg book. Please make sure you have the newly engraved edition by Anthony Cerrone, because if you don't have this edition, you won't have the dynamic markings. And I talk about all of that in the errata, but I'd hate for you to have to learn it a second time and add the dynamics in, or your students learn it and have to add the dynamics in. So it's Etude 25 on page 83. And I like this etude. It's short. I've had a couple people already thank me for that. It's short, but it has some tricky things. And it's a lot of working on your hand-to-hand motion and getting that smooth alternating throughout. So most of this I present as my stickings are alternating. There are some good dynamic markings, so we need to be careful when we start mezzo forte that it's not forte, and we can bring the dynamics down. The tempo marking is a dotted quarter, 56 to 64, so not crazy fast, but it will push you a little bit. But it's more about being musical. This etude has some musical phrase markings, some slurrings, that, to be honest, when I was first learning it, I asked my husband, who's a musician, French horn player, fantastic musician, just listen, just want to make sure I'm not doing something crazy. And he said, "Oh, you're not really following all the musical phrase markings." Okay, and he was correct. So I was just being a percussionist, and I was learning the etude. So really follow along. There's some slur markings, and I wrote this and talked about it in the TBA videos, which by the way will come out during TBA on Student Day. There's like a group of 3 notes that are phrased, and then another 3. So we want it like ba-da-da, ba-da-da, instead of just da-da-da-da-da-da. Really follow all those musical markings. And it should be felt in one. It's kind of has a nice waltz feel to it. I've already seen, I know my colleague Brian Zader is starting to do some teaching videos, and everything he's talking about is perfect. You have to start slowly and just learn little segments. I did the same thing. I also like to practice sometimes like with a dotted rhythm. So it's 16, so it'd be like ba da da ba da da ba da da ba da. Instead of that, I'll be playing ba da 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 da, and that just helps things line up for me. Sticks it on my hard drive a little bit more securely, and helps me learn it right a little bit better. Let's see what else about this etude. There's some rolls, but not a lot. They're clearly marked, so be careful not to roll where it's not marked. Just look for the markings. There's some tied notes that should not be rolled. So all of that is clear in my markings in the music. And I don't see any questions at this point, so please jump on in if you have any about this. I'll just demonstrate a little bit of the beginning so that you can see what I was talking about with the phrase markings. Let me move my music stand over here and come on up and around. I'm sure Gil will tell us if I've lost sound or something goes weird since I'm wandering around here. Let's see. So right at the beginning with those phrase markings, if we were to ignore the phrase markings, it would be this. And I'm playing under tempo too, so everybody knows that. But with the phrase markings or the slur markings, all right, so a little bit of emphasis on the beginning of each of the slur markings. What we have to be careful of is to not over emphasize those notes so they become an accent, right? We don't want to punch them. That's a bit too much, right? I'm sure you can offer that. So just a slight emphasis at the beginning of those. Lots of hand-to-hand. The stickings that are written, I think, work really well. I'm starting it right-handed. I did try it for a little bit, starting left. It could be done, but in the end, I found it starting the whole thing with the right and really just alternating pretty much throughout, except maybe at the end of a measure, ending on the right and then restarting on the right again. Let's see. Slight retard at the end. No need to be dramatic at the end. This is just a short etude, so the ending is piano. All right, so again, it's just not kind of dramatic piece that requires a really large or huge slowdown there at the end. Does anybody have questions about the 2-mallet etude? There's no rocket science to this one. Just suggest your students really check out the key signature and some of the accidentals that are marked. If they need to write in their stickings, that's I'm all about writing things in. Some of that might be the older I get, the more I need to write things in. But I hope that if you have questions, you'll step in and ask.
Sherry, a little bit when you're playing on the back of the instrument, we can hear the instrument perfectly clear. When you talk, sometimes we don't hear it that clear. You could maybe speak a little bit louder, and we should hear you. And maybe because of this, maybe you want to touch a bit on what you were saying while you were playing. Maybe.
Oh, sure. I was talking about the phrase markings and the slur markings, so we have to really be careful to follow what's written in the music, and like we always should as musicians, right? Look at the ink on the page, follow what the composer was hoping that we would all do and play it musically. That's basically what I was talking about. And then we talked about the rolls, talked about the retard at the end, that it's not a large retard, not a huge, it's not molto retard, just a slight retard. I think you heard me do that when I played. So hopefully that makes sense. No questions still. Okay. And they don't have to be questions. Wait for the phrase markings. Would you recommend emphasizing touch or volume? Well, if you might have to explain yourself a little bit, but I think a little bit of volume will do it, but your touch is, you have to be very careful. I think what I was saying earlier is your touch has to be it can't be too strong because then it's going to sound more like an accent. So you could lift a little bit more with your touch to get that volume without giving a harsh sound. Does that help? I hope. I mean, hopefully we're all lifting off the bars all the time. Yes, so the start of every slur, just a slight emphasis, right? Right. That's kind of the only way we can do that, correct? Like a wind player, they can tongue things, they can put a little more air through it. And that's where, that's where my husband caught me. He's like, oh, well, shouldn't it sound like this? And he can play it on his horn and, it sounds fabulous. But what we can do on the marimba is just give it a little bit of emphasis. Hope that helps. Again, I think we're going to have to be really careful with our students because you know how they like to accent things, right? Like, oh, okay, sure, I can play that a little louder. So we have to be really careful that it's very subtle. Okay, let's see from Mr. Botello. Hey there, Robert. What mallets do you suggest for this etude? A medium to medium hard. We're kind of in the upper end most of the time. And I think a medium to medium hard yarn. I'm using the Van Sice 124s, I believe, on my recordings. I think, it could depend on your instrument. So I know some of our students are playing on synthetic bars, and that's, that's just a different sound and a different feel. So if they need something a little more articulate, maybe a little more dense, that would be fine as well. Okay. Any extra that emphasis? I think, you could even practice your scales. With some emphasis, like slurring the notes. Maybe I can demonstrate that. Let's see. I'll try to talk a little louder when I'm back here. But let's see. So if we're playing our scales, let me get my chord up here, folks. We're playing our scales and we want to practice this emphasis. Let's just pick a F major scale. Are we okay in hearing me at this point? I hope. Yeah, we'll come back and tell me.
Yes, Sherry. Now we can see. We can hear you a lot
Great.
Clearer. Yes.
Great. Good. Cool. So if we play our F scale, what if we want to add that little emphasis every 3 notes? Right? And that's almost too much even there, so we have to be careful. Hope that makes sense. Just that little bitty, and I hope you can see I'm just giving it a little more lift before I strike the note and after. I just give it that. So your hands look ba-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da. Does that help? Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Good. Start slow. Have your students start slow with their metronome on, each beat clicking until they can feel it in one, and then, then go there. And I said this on my videos. So many students are tempted to always want to play at the top end of whatever the met marking is that we've given you, but we've given you a bracket, so they don't have to play at the top end. If they sound fabulous, this is 56 to 64. If they sound fabulous at 56, then they should play it there, right? We're okay with that. And you don't need to come in and play it at 80. That's definitely not what you need to do, right? Tell your students that if there's any students listening, that's just showing off, and you probably won't play it as musical as you need to. Sound good? Excellent. So if everybody's ready, I'll move on to the 4 mallet. If you have more questions, we can ask those. If people don't want to ask them on here, they can catch me at another time too.
There's no more questions, Sherry. I think we can move on.
Awesome. All right. Great. So just don't forget, make sure you have the right edition in that book so that you're not missing out on the dynamics. So our 4 mallet etude this year comes from the Mitchell Peters fundamental solos for mallets, and there's a couple pieces in here that have been used in the past, but this year I'm using Sojourn, and actually I don't believe this one has been used before. So I'm using kind of a medium to medium hard mallet on this, except for my number 1 mallet. If I'm going left low to high, my number 1 mallet I used just a slightly softer mallet, a 123, and then 124s going up through that. We have 5 flats, but it moves kind of in and out of different modes. So, it also, the key change is also to all natural. So what's going on in here is you need to be able to do really strong double vertical and double lateral strokes. Okay, you need to be able to feel comfortable with both hands, nice lifting strokes, and also my camera doesn't quite have my hands in here. I see. Also with your laterals. Okay, makes sense. So I would suggest practicing some exercises to make sure that you're comfortable. I mean, I always warm up just doing my double verticals anyway. I want to make sure my wrists are strong. Honestly, I try to warm up playing snare drum first so that my wrists and my arms are really comfortable with that, and then going to the keyboard or timpani, whatever's next. I love this little etude or song. It's really more of a piece, and I had fun learning this one, so I hope that everybody does as well. Tricky moments in this, when you look at your music at the end, the last 6 or 8 bars, there's some tricky stuff there. I'll go over to the marimba here. I'm going to bring my music and my headphones and just talk about a couple of the places that I think you'll want to look. Let me put my music down so y'all can see my hands. Go. Tethered up here. Okay. So, hang on, friends. So, want to make sure we're really comfortable. And we can lift off the bars and get a beautiful sound all the time, right? So we do that. We have to do some of that up here. So while that hand is doing that, which is our accompaniment, this hand has to play the melody. So it's very important that we make sure that the melody is heard and this left hand is more of an accompaniment part. That's why I like to use a little softer mallet in my number 1 mallet to help with that. So we have the double vertical stroke, and then we have our double laterals, right? Back and forth motion. In this piece, you need to be able to do it in thirds with your right hand. And then later you need to do it in fourths. So we need to feel comfortable with our right hand for sure, but the left hand also takes part. And actually, at another point in the piece, your right hand has to be into 6th. So I'm playing up here. If anybody has the music, it's around 30, 40, 41. How about that motion right there? I'm on an A flat and an F natural. I want to make sure I'm not over the node with that number 3 knot, right? And going up in here and actually switching all the way up here. So body placement's important, making sure that you're ready to move where you need to be so that you're striking the bars in a good position, a good beating spot on the marimba. Hope that all makes sense. Do we have any questions about this recommended mallet for 4-mallet etude? Awesome. Again, I'm a Vic Firth clinician, educational clinician, Vic Firth Zildjian, and I love the Van Cise mallets, but I'm using sort of a medium hard, except for the number 1 mallet. So I'm using the 124 Van Cise mallets and 123 in my number 1 mallet. So that makes sense. There's so many great mallets on the market right now. Just, we want to make sure we don't use anything too harsh, I think is where I would go with that. And I like having that softer mallet because it helps me not get overpower the melody with that left hand. Does that help everybody? Everybody's quiet today, Robert. It's all good. I can't hear you, Robert, but that's okay.
Gilbert, they seem to be quiet for right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
That was the only question that they had. Sherry, I did have a question when you were playing the melody part on your right hand. What's your scoop on the melody line and the use of the right hand? Do you prefer the melody with 1 mallet specifically, either the 3 or the 4, or what's your scoop as an educator?
Sure. The opening line, the opening like 8 or 10 bars is the only time that the melody is just with a single note. And so I use the 3 mallet for most of it, I actually went 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. So I only used the number 4 mallet up on the high A flat and G flat. That just because I think that's important for the students to be able to feel comfortable, using. So I wanted to demonstrate that. You certainly could do it with the number 3 mallet.
Yeah.
Only. You could do it only. The rest of the time, the melody is actually double vertical strokes. So
yes.
So then you're okay.
Okay. We have a question.
Because the etude is in 3, should the phrasing have a 3 waltz-like feel? Absolutely. Right from the first 2 measures, you have that boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick, dun, 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 dun. So it's definitely a waltz. It has a little syncopation happening a few places, but overall it should definitely have a waltz feel. Yeah. Somebody else asked about exercises. I like my students to sort of come up with their own exercises for pieces. There's fabulous books out there with lots of exercises in them, but I find if my students make up their own exercises, then they actually own that, and they're probably more likely to practice and do their warm-ups. So they need to play something where any exercise in any key, and I'll probably use this key too, where the left hand is your accompaniment and the right hand is not. I mean, the right hand is the melody. So, they can make up. I like doing some little improv, do it in different keys so that they're coming up with their own stuff. And then you also have to do some exercises where they're working on their lateral strokes also. I would do them in thirds, fifths, octaves. Every time you practice that motion, whether it's in thirds, fifths, or octaves, you're improving all of those steps. Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot.
It's like, we talk to, we know that as educators, we know that, if brass players practice their low tones, their high tones get better, right? Their high notes. So for us, just because we have to play thirds doesn't mean we should ignore fifths and octaves in our strokes.
It's different for us, a little bit different.
It is different, of course. Yeah. And, this is a smaller motion, right? As we get bigger. Yeah.
There's a question. Any additional dynamic shaping that you would recommend outside of the written ones?
Yeah, I think it's actually, what's written is really good. But you always have to kind of make it your own, as long as you don't go outside of what's actually written, since this is Rigi music, not like a solo recital. But we want to make it musical. So just because it says mezzo forte doesn't mean you shouldn't shape it. You should always, shape the phrases just within that mezzo forte area. Hopefully that makes sense. The measure 55 at the end, I know it is forte, which we're going to use. To the end. Again, you could shape it a little bit, but I wouldn't really mess around with them. Like, I wouldn't do any subito things like that. I would just shape it a little bit, but on my video, I really didn't change that much.
One thing that I've noticed from a judge perspective, sometimes when the dynamic is messed with it significantly, sometimes it might be frowned upon by some judges. So, and this is just based on experience judging, throughout the whole, different phases of it.
Yeah. I know there's been conversations about all of this sort of thing before. I mean, we want our students to play musically, right? That's super important. Play musically all the time. But remember that this is a competition. And so if the students veer too far from what's on the page, it's just like you're saying, it's really hard for judges. We've all been on those panels. We can't do that because it's a competition. You should play as close as you can to the page, which is why I like these dynamics are great. But I added dynamics to the snare drum etude because basically there weren't any. And I wanted that etude to be more musical. So I added a lot of dynamics to that etude. So,
but in that case, those dynamic markings stick because when you selected them, you imposed them there.
Right. Right. Yeah. You should definitely follow those. Right. So.
We have another question.
And the rows you suggest an attack with all 4 mallets at the beginning and then transitions. I think, I love using that technique in a lot of ways, but I think for this particular etude, they're so short. The rolls are so short when you play it at tempo that I'm not sure that's going to be the best way to approach it. I'm not sure you really have time for that effect. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. So I honestly like the 2 rolls there in the last 3 measures. I just started with my right hand. They're so quick. Ba, 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 ba. There's not much time. Now, I'm not
Yes.
against that technique at all. I definitely use it. I just don't think it works in this particular spot. Right, you could maybe do it at measure 25. You have a little time, but it really goes by pretty fast also. Hope that helps.
There seems to be no more questions right now, Sherry. What I am
That's
going to
okay.
do, ladies and gentlemen, guys, and so that you can be aware, I'm going to create a Google form where they can submit questions, and then I'm going to tag you on it, Sherry. So as the
Excellent.
questions come in, you will see them,
Okay.
and then maybe we can address them next week
Sure.
towards
Yeah.
the end.
Whoops.
Next week we're doing the snare drum and timpani. Am I correct?
That's correct. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And
if
then
anybody
towards
has
the
burning questions, before next Saturday, they certainly can.
Yeah,
check
they can
in.
put any and all questions, whether it's for snare, for whatever it is that they want, and then I'll tag you to it, and as they come in, you'll be notified, and you'll see them, Sherry.
That's
That
great.
way,
Sure.
it'll help expedite this,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people are going to be seeing the replay, and now they'll be hearing me say this, and they'll go and look for it. I'll put the link, guys, under this stream. Once we're done, you'll obviously see the stream, and you can catch the replay, right? So in the comments, I'll put that link for the Google Sheet form where you can submit your questions for her. And please feel free. The more questions that you ask, guys, it doesn't only help you, but it helps everybody, because we're all going to hear the answers. And if one of us has a question on something, chances are quite a bit of us have that same question on that same issue.
Right. Yeah, that whole thing about there's no silly question, and there really isn't. I mean,
I think we have one more.
That's measure 44 through 49. We are in the 4 mallet etude, I assume. Let's find it. Yes. Yeah. That is tricky. This question is tricky. Not the question isn't tricky. The dynamic marking, there's a lot of measures. I really had, even myself, I had to really save it so that when I got to 49, I was still forte. And then you still have 4 measures to diminuendo, to diminuendo, to piano. So I think always be careful to not max out your fortissimos, first of all, on the keyboard, right? We want to make sure we're lifting and we really get a big sound. I would suggest staying pretty fortissimo for at least 2 bars. So 44 and 45. And then use the next 3 bars. And when I tell my students, when it's that subtle a dynamic level, like from fortissimo to forte, just feel like fortissimo is you're really lifting, it's really big. And then you just kind of just chill a little bit, right? Just chill. So you're still forte. We don't want to come down too much, but just, I don't know if that makes sense. Just chill, like, right? Just think, okay, I'm relaxing a little bit now, right? Over those 5 bars. Hopefully that helps. So I definitely stay fortissimo for 2 bars. And then you got those 3 bars to come down. You're welcome, Corey Sales, one of my graduates.
Oh, wow. And I don't know who this is.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the students, that start working on this stuff. And one thing I talked about in my videos is like, don't wait to practice the timpani etude till the end.
Yeah.
When you see it, you'll realize why. And you don't even have to get on drums for a while. You can work the last page. We'll talk about that next week. But I feel like, it's hard for the kids to get on the timpani, right? They just, you don't know.
Sherry, I do have a question myself. You mentioned, I'm really intrigued. It's a little thorn on my head now. You said that you warm up playing snare drum. Why?
Practice
What's
pad.
the purpose? Why? What's the purpose? And what do you do?
Yeah. I'm a good old George Lawrence Stone's stick control gal. so there's variations on that, different ways to use the stick control. But for me, if I spend 20 minutes in the morning, like we can all find 10 or 15, even 20 minutes, just doing basic, stick control stuff on a practice pad, not hurting anybody, around with my loud snare drum playing at my house or anything. That just sets my tone for the day. Like, not only has it set the tone for my hands, But it sets my brain too. Like, okay, I just got those 15, 20 minutes in, and it puts you in a groove of wanting to do more. It does that for me, at least. If I've done that,
Yes.
and plus then if I don't get to actually practice, because Gil, you and I know once you're out here in this field teaching, your practice time is slim, right?
Yes.
It's very slim, and you have a family, and you're doing the thing.
Close
So
to none.
yeah. So if I get those 20 minutes in, and then let's say I have a student, that isn't prepared, heaven forbid, and I have an extra 15 minutes at the end of their lesson, well, I'm already warmed up, right? Partially. If I'm playing 4 mallets, I'm going to need to do some 4 mallet warm-ups as well. But I'm kind of in that groove, and it can take me through the rest of the day.
Yes.
So I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, for me, it's better to get that in the morning.
It makes a lot of sense, Sherry, and it's pretty neat the way you just placed it. I'm a geek when it comes to like learning and how the brain learns, how the student learns, better delivery methods as an educator and all that. And when you practice a little bit and you experience that little bit of success of, okay, my hands feel good, right? You start feeling that when you taste that little success, that adrenaline, those and whatever is released in our brain, it's kind of like when you taste something sugary, then throughout the day you want more of that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. So it's the exact same thing, and it's to the point that it's like a craving. It's like I got to do it. So that's a very good point. I personally am going to start having my students do something right before we start, and address it. I think it's a very good idea.
It's just a great way to start your day. You're setting yourself up for success, and this music business, it's so competitive, and it's really a discipline, right? Too. Like if we're not disciplined in what we're doing, that person right behind you that's disciplined, whether they're as talented as you or not, they're going to get ahead of you.
Yes.
Right? My students that are here in the morning, like when I show up even at 8 o'clock or sometime even before that, the ones that are here and are already working, I'm telling you, it makes a difference.
Yes.
Now, not everybody's a morning person. I get that. But what's your morning? I don't know. Maybe your morning is at 10. But whatever you do, kind of start your day with some sort of discipline. And for me, that means don't look at this. Like if my day starts looking at this, then suddenly I don't have time to do my snare drum warm up.
Yes.
Right? Because this is a
Yes.
time, time just goes away. Right?
We have one more question.
You see that? Last 2 rolls, measure 70, 71. Slight lift and discount. Yes, absolutely. I would definitely lift and reattack. It's very slight because you don't want to have like a huge space between them, but you do need to lift and go on because they're not marked slurred at all. And I think that Mr. Peters would have done that if he'd wanted them to connect. They go by pretty fast, right?
There should be a little bit of space, a little bit of silence in between.
Yeah, well, pretty little, but yes.
Yes.
So you're going ba-da, 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 ba, 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 ba. And it finishes off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Hope that
Good. I am so personally, I am so grateful for the fact that technology has been able to do this for us. Like, it just right now, it just made San Antonio, and it brought UTSA percussion studio, Sherry's office, to my living room, to my office, to my place of employment in any part of the world that you're at. So I think this is amazing.
It has been great. Well, what you're doing, Gil, has been awesome, helping everybody out. I mean, it's
thank you.
It's some fabulous things. Hey, I'm realizing you can see my office. You can see my my ramen noodles and a hand lotion and my
yeah. So we're being influenced. We're being influenced by you in more than the educational way. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, the ramen noodles are for my students who sometimes don't eat. Yeah, not me.
Oh yes. Yes. Sherry, every time that you have been put on the committee to select the etudes, you have you and I'm sure our listeners agree, you have nailed it.
Oh, thank
solid. The way that you pick your etudes, the way that you what your thinking process is, whatever it is, because I'm sure that there's a lot more that you personally, as the person working on it, there's a process that you go through that you probably didn't share enough. But whatever it is, Sherry, it's golden.
Well, I appreciate
Whatever it
that.
is, and then the stuff that you give as far as suggestions on how to phrase, or whatever it is that you do, I personally have used it with my students, and they have been very successful. So that's why I'm saying, it's
Thank you.
you're on point. You're on point all the time. And we are, when I said earlier that we are lucky to have you in our Texas team and fortunate, I meant it wholeheartedly.
I
Yes,
appreciate
I
that.
just wanted to make sure I said that
Thank you.
publicly. Sherry, any last thoughts, any last words you might want to share with us on the
Mm,
etudes or anything uh,
No,
for
I
now?
just I hope that, as we talked about in the beginning, I hope that everybody, educators, encourage their students, to realize that this is about improving. This is
Mhm.
about getting better at what they're doing, and hopefully also enjoying it. I think these etudes are fun to play also. Um, Now, how we all feel about that in November when we've heard them nonstop every day, I don't know, but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
how we all feel about that. But there's a lot of good lessons in each of these etudes. I think that our students, you know, can hopefully can improve their technique, improve their musicality, and also enjoy it a little bit. So we'll see. I'm just so
yes,
excited that we get to do it again in a normal way, right? I mean, hopefully we
yes,
have all state.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think it
Yeah,
is we need it, and it's
yeah,
just a breath of fresh air being able to be back with students in person. It's
yeah,
it's 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 beautiful.
yeah.
It's a
We had a
beautiful
camp
thing.
last week, and we had 35 combination of high school and middle schoolers, and it was just a
Oh
joy.
wow.
Just a
Wow.
joy to have them on campus making music and learning together. And I judged some of my colleagues too. We judged the state solo and ensemble contest that was all online. And I like by halfway through that, I was like, I'm so ready to see all these people in person. I can hardly stand it. And it was
Yes.
long, much longer judging all of those. I did on like 82 ensembles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, and it was great. I love seeing the kids and stuff. But I love judging that because I love talking to them and saying this was great. I'm happy to see your
Yes.
face and let's talk about this. But doing it, so as much as we're fed up with the online thing in a lot of ways, this kind of stuff is beautiful.
Yes,
The
I
fact
agree.
that we get to do this is awesome. So now we just have to find that balance of
Yes.
how are we going to still use it and make it work, but make sure it's not the main thing. Make sure that
No.
connection that we all
Yes.
crave is there. So
I totally agree. Well, Sherry, it's been an honor to have
did
you, and looking forward, guys. Next week, Saturday at 12 p.m. U.S. Central, again, Sherry Rubins with the Valley Percussion Festival Summer Series, Texas All State Edition. Can you see on top of the screen, Sherry?
I do. Yeah,
Where? Yeah, on
there.
your on the left. Yes,
For me, it's
you
over
like.
here. It's right there.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Just for you, Sherry. Just
I
for
love it.
you.
Oh, my
Okay,
name's
awesome.
over here. Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Well, guys, we will see you next week. Stay tuned. As far as the channel is concerned, guys, besides Sherry, obviously, the one that picked them and is giving us all the inside scoop, in lieu of not being able to do it in TBA, we will also be having some other clinics that have to do with fundamentals and basics from amazing educators as well, that have been successful in studying and delivering, and the concepts that they provide are very, very meaty and juicy. So be aware of it. I will be announcing them as soon as we start to solidify those dates. For now, please like, share, subscribe. Valley Percussion Festival, Facebook and Instagram, and the G Drums, GDRUMZ, G Drums YouTube channel. Subscribe and share, please share, guys. And if you ever have any questions, regarding the channel, any ideas, any artists that you might see, please feel free to reach out. You can use Messenger, you can email me, reach me at any way that you can, and be on the lookout. I'm going to put that link for any questions on the Texas All-State Music, please. Sherry,
Great.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Good to see you, Gil. Yes.
Likewise.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody.